Welcome, dear dreamers, to another journey into the world of imagination and wonder. As you settle in and relax, let your mind drift into the soft embrace of slumber. Tonight, we follow the story of Elian, a young cartographer whose path will lead him to realms beyond the edge of the world. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the soothing rhythm of this tale carry you away. With each word, feel yourself sinking deeper into calm and tranquility as we venture into the unknown together. Rest easy and let the magic of the story guide you into peaceful dreams. In the quaint village of Fernwood, where the edge of the world seemed to blur into the dense, untamed forest, there lived a young cartographer named Elian. His father had been a map maker before him, charting the known lands with precision and care. But Elian's heart yearned for more than the well-trodden paths of their ancestors. He spent his days sketching distant mountains and uncharted seas in the margins of his father's maps, his mind wandering to places no one had ever seen. It was on a particularly stormy evening when the wind howled through the narrow streets of Fernwood and the rain battered against the crooked rooftops, that Elian stumbled upon a discovery that would change his life forever. The day had been long, filled with the mundane tasks of repairing old maps and cataloguing new ones. The storm had driven the villagers indoors, and Elian found himself alone, seeking refuge in the old McAllister house, a place long abandoned where only whispers of the past lingered. The house, shrouded in dust and shadow, was filled with relics of a bygone era. Elian had often visited the house, drawn by its forgotten corners and hidden alcoves, but this time felt different. The storm outside seemed to stir something within the house, as if the very walls were alive with anticipation. Elian's eyes were drawn to the attic, a place he had never ventured before. The creaking stairs groaned under his weight as he ascended, the air growing colder with each step. The attic was a cluttered mess of broken furniture, old trunks and tattered tapestries, all shrouded in a thick layer of dust. But in the farthest corner, hidden beneath a pile of forgotten books, something caught his eye. A faint glimmer that seemed out of place among the decay. With a mixture of curiosity and caution, Elian brushed aside the debris to reveal a small, unassuming globe. It was covered in dust, its surface marred by years of neglect. But as his fingers brushed against it, a strange warmth emanated from within. Elian carefully lifted the globe from its resting place, its weight surprisingly light in his hands. The globe was unlike any he had seen before. Its surface was smooth, with no visible continents or oceans. Instead, it was a deep, dark blue, like the night sky just before dawn. Intrigued, he began to wipe away the dust, revealing intricate lines of silver and gold etched into the surface. forming patterns that seemed to shift and move as he watched. Suddenly, the room was filled with a soft, otherworldly glow. The globe pulsed with light, illuminating the attic in a way that seemed almost magical. The patterns on its surface began to change, revealing shapes and forms that Elian had never seen before. Mountains, forests, islands, and seas, all swirling together in a dance of light and shadow. His heart raced with excitement as he realized what he was holding. A map of places that existed beyond the world he knew. Hidden realms waiting to be discovered. As the light from the globe faded, Elian knew that his life could never be the same. This was no ordinary object. It was a key to a world of adventure and discovery, a chance to explore the unknown. With the globe in his hands and a newfound sense of purpose in his heart, Elian resolved to embark on the greatest journey of his life. A quest to uncover the secrets of the hidden realms, and perhaps in doing so, find his true place in the world. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon as Elian prepared for his journey. The globe, now a constant companion, rested securely in his satchel, its surface cool and still. Though it had returned to its dormant state, Elian could feel a subtle connection between himself and the enchanted artifact, as if it were quietly guiding him toward his destiny. With nothing more than a leather-bound journal, a quill, and the clothes on his back, Elian set out from Fernwood. Leaving behind the familiar streets of his village and venturing into the dense forest that bordered the unknown. As he walked, the trees around him seemed to close in, their branches intertwining to form a canopy that blotted out the sun. The path ahead grew narrow and winding, leading him deeper into the heart of the forest. Elian had traveled this way before, but now it felt different, charged with a sense of purpose. The forest was alive with the sounds of nature, yet there was an underlying stillness that made the hair on the back of his neck prickle. The further he went, the more the world around him seemed to shift and blur, until he was no longer certain which direction he was headed. Just as doubt began to creep into his mind, the globe stirred within his satchel. Elian paused, pulling it out to find it glowing faintly. The silver and gold patterns swirling once more. The light grew brighter, casting eerie shadows on the trees, as it illuminated a hidden path veering off from the one he had been following. Without hesitation, Elian followed the new path, trusting the globe's guidance. The path led him to a clearing, where the ground abruptly ended at the edge of a steep cliff. Elian approached the precipice cautiously, peering over the edge to find a breathtaking sight. A series of floating islands suspended in the sky, connected by slender bridges made of vines and ancient wood. The islands hovered above a sea of clouds, their surfaces covered in lush greenery and vibrant flowers that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Birds with iridescent feathers flitted between the islands, their songs echoing through the air like a chorus of bells. Elian marveled at the sight, his heart swelling with awe and wonder. He had read tales of floating lands and magical realms, but to see it with his own eyes was something beyond imagination. The globe's glow intensified, pulling his gaze toward the nearest island. A narrow bridge, no wider than a plank, connected it to the cliff where he stood. Elian took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly as he stepped onto the bridge. The wood creaked beneath his weight, and the vines swayed gently in the wind, but the bridge held firm. As he crossed, the sensation of being suspended in the air was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Each step felt like a leap of faith, but with the globe's light to guide him, Elian pressed forward, his determination growing with each moment. He reached the first island, its surface soft and cool underfoot. The air was thick with the scent of flowers, and the sound of rustling leaves filled his ears. Elian explored cautiously, taking in the strange, otherworldly beauty of the place. He soon realized that the islands were not only beautiful, but also ancient, with signs of an old civilization scattered among the flora. Stone ruins covered in moss and vines hinted at a time long past when these islands had been home to people, or perhaps something else entirely. As he ventured deeper into the island, Elian encountered the Guardian, a solitary figure draped in tattered robes, its face hidden beneath a hood. The Guardian's voice was soft, but carried an undeniable authority, warning Elian of the trials he would face if he chose to continue his journey. The path ahead, it said, was fraught with danger and uncertainty, and only those with true resolve could hope to survive. Undeterred, Elian met the Guardian's gaze, or at least where he thought the gaze should be, and declared his intent to proceed. The Guardian nodded solemnly, and with a wave of its hand, revealed the way forward, a glowing bridge that connected to the next island. Elian knew that this was only the beginning of his quest, but with the globe in hand and the path illuminated before him, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. The glowing bridge led Elian from the floating isles into a realm where the air grew cool and the vibrant colors of the sky dimmed to a twilight hue. The globe, nestled in his satchel, pulsed with a gentle light, as if encouraging him onward. Elian's steps echoed in the silence as he descended a spiraling path carved into the side of a mountain. The stone beneath his feet was smooth and worn, a testament to the countless travelers who had walked this way before him. Yet, as far as Elian could tell, he was utterly alone. The path ended at the mouth of a cave, its entrance framed by towering crystal formations that shimmered in the dim light. The crystals glowed faintly, casting a soft, ethereal light that bathed the cave in shades of violet, blue, and green. The very air seemed alive with magic. and the silence was profound, as though the cave itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Elian hesitated at the threshold, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. But the globe's light grew stronger, and he knew there was no turning back. With a deep breath, he stepped into the cave, his senses immediately overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of the place. The walls were lined with crystals of every size and color, their surfaces reflecting and refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. The floor was a polished mirror, capturing every flicker of light and amplifying it until the cave seemed to glow from within. As he ventured deeper, the cave revealed its true nature. The crystals were not merely decorations, they were alive. A low hum filled the air, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the stone and into Elian's very bones. The crystals pulsed with light in time with the hum, as though they were singing a song only they could hear. Elian felt as though he were walking through a dream, each step taking him further into a world that defied reality. The path wound deeper into the earth, the light growing dimmer as the walls closed in around him. The hum grew louder, more insistent, until it was all Elian could hear. It was a call, a beckoning that tugged at his soul, pulling him toward the heart of the cave. He followed it, unable to resist, until he found himself standing before a massive crystal formation that towered above him like a cathedral. The crystal was different from the others. It was clear as glass, and within its depths, Elian could see swirling lights and shadows moving as if alive. The hum emanated from this crystal, filling the air with a sense of ancient power. Elian knew that this was the key to unlocking the next part of his journey, but he didn't know how. He reached out, his hand hovering just above the surface of the crystal. The moment his fingers brushed against it, the cave was flooded with light. The hum reached a crescendo, vibrating through every fiber of his being, and the crystal began to shift and change. The swirling lights within it formed shapes, images of places, people, and events that Elian had never seen before. It was as if the crystal was showing him the history of the world, a history that had been forgotten by time. The images coalesced into a single vision, a path leading deeper into the cave, toward a hidden chamber that pulsed with a light even stronger than the crystals. Elian understood then that the cave was not just a place of beauty, it was a place of knowledge. The crystals held the memories of the world, and to unlock the secrets of the hidden realms, he would need to decipher their ancient language. With newfound resolve, Elian followed the vision, his steps guided by the crystal's light. The path led him to a small chamber, where a single crystal floated in the air, glowing with a soft white light. It was smaller than the others, but its light was pure and unwavering. Elian knew this was the heart of the cave, the source of its power. He reached out and touched the crystal, and the cave responded. The hum subsided, the light dimmed, and the crystal's glow faded to a soft shimmer. The chamber grew still, and Elian felt a deep sense of calm settle over him. The crystal had given him what he needed, a map of the hidden realms etched into his mind, guiding him on his journey. The next part of his quest awaited, and with the knowledge of the crystal caves in his heart, Elian was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Leaving the luminous depths of the crystal caves behind, Elian emerged into a realm where twilight reigned eternal. The path ahead led into a dense forest, its trees towering high into the sky, their gnarled branches weaving a canopy so thick that not a single ray of sunlight could penetrate. The forest seemed to pulse with life, yet there was an eerie stillness to it, a silence broken only by the soft rustling of leaves that moved without the touch of wind. This was the Forest of Whispers, a place steeped in ancient magic and forgotten secrets. As Elian stepped into the forest, the globe in his satchel grew cold, its light dimming to a faint glow. The path beneath his feet was narrow and winding, barely visible through the thick undergrowth that seemed to shift and change with every step. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss, and the trees themselves seemed to lean in as if listening to the quiet footsteps of the lone traveler. It wasn't long before Elian heard the whispers. At first, they were barely audible, just the faintest murmur carried on the still air. But as he ventured deeper into the forest, the whispers grew louder, surrounding him on all sides. They were voices soft and insistent, speaking in a language he could not understand. The sound sent shivers down his spine, for it felt as though the forest itself was alive, watching him, testing his resolve. The path grew more treacherous, twisting and turning through the trees, leading Elian further into the heart of the forest. The whispers followed him, growing more insistent with each step, until they were all he could hear. He tried to block them out, focusing on the path ahead, but the voices seemed to seep into his mind, planting seeds of doubt and fear. "Turn back," they seemed to say. "This path is not for you. Leave while you still can." But Elian pressed on, his determination unwavering. He knew that the forest was trying to deceive him, to make him question his purpose. The globe had led him here for a reason, and he would not be swayed by the tricks of this enchanted place. The further he went, the more the forest began to change. The trees grew taller and more twisted, their bark blackened and cracked as though scorched by some ancient fire. The ground became uneven, littered with roots that seemed to writhe and twist like serpents. The whispers grew louder, now clear enough for Elian to catch fragments of their meaning. Prophecy, destiny, darkness. The words were disjointed, but they hinted at something greater, something that tied his journey to a fate he had not yet fully grasped. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. This forest was not just a place of whispers, it was a place of prophecy, a place where the secrets of the past and the future intertwined. As he continued, Elian came upon a clearing bathed in a pale, ghostly light. In the center stood a massive, ancient tree, its trunk twisted and gnarled, its branches reaching up like skeletal fingers grasping for the sky. At its base, nestled among the roots, was a pool of crystal clear water, its surface perfectly still. Elian approached the pool cautiously, sensing that this was the heart of the forest, the source of the whispers. He knelt beside it, peering into the depths. The water was dark, reflecting the twisted branches above. But as he stared, the surface began to ripple, revealing images, visions of places he had yet to see, challenges he had yet to face. And then he saw it, a shadowy figure, cloaked in darkness, standing at the edge of the world, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The whispers intensified, echoing in his mind, warning him of the danger that awaited him if he continued his journey. But within the whispers, there was also a note of hope, a reminder that he was not alone, that his journey was tied to something greater than himself. Elian knew that the forest was giving him a choice: to turn back and abandon his quest, or to continue forward, accepting the challenges that lay ahead. With a deep breath, he stood, his resolve stronger than ever. He had come too far to turn back now. The whispers receded, fading into the background as the path before him became clear once more. The next realm awaited, and with the knowledge gained from the forest of whispers, Elian knew he was ready to face it. The forest of whispers receded into the distance as Elian stepped onto the arid sands of the desert of illusions. The transition was abrupt. One moment, he had been surrounded by the cool, shadowed forest, and the next, he was standing in the midst of a vast, scorching expanse. The sun hung high in the sky, a blinding orb that cast no shadows, making it impossible to discern direction. The heat was oppressive, and the air shimmered with the intensity of it, distorting everything in sight. Elian took a deep breath, the dry air stinging his throat, and consulted the globe. Its light was faint, barely a glimmer, as if the desert itself was sapping its energy. He knew this place was different from the realms he had traversed before. Here, the danger was not in the physical challenges, but in the illusions that preyed upon the mind. The ground beneath his feet shifted with each step, the sand seeming to move of its own accord, creating patterns that changed constantly. As he walked, mirages began to form on the horizon. Oases filled with cool, clear water, lush green trees offering shade, and distant figures waving him towards safety. But Elian knew better than to trust his eyes. The desert was known for its deceptions. and he could not afford to lose focus. He kept his eyes trained on the globe, using its faint glow as a guide. Yet, as the hours passed, the desert seemed to stretch on endlessly, with no sign of the next realm. The illusions grew stronger, more vivid, and it became increasingly difficult to distinguish reality from fantasy. The mirages began to take on more personal forms. Visions of his village, of familiar faces calling out to him, offering comfort and urging him to turn back. But Elyon pressed on, his resolve unwavering. He knew the desert was testing him, trying to break his spirit. Each step felt heavier than the last, and the globe's light flickered weakly, as though it, too, was struggling against the desert's power. The heat bore down on him, sapping his strength, and doubt began to creep into his mind. Just as he felt he could go no further, the sand beneath his feet began to shift more violently, swirling around him in a vortex of blinding light. The ground trembled, and Elyon stumbled, struggling to keep his footing. The illusions intensified, the mirages blending together into a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes that disoriented him completely. He closed his eyes, focusing on the rhythm of his breathing, trying to block out the chaos around him. When he opened his eyes again, the vortex had subsided, and before him stood a small group of people, their skin weathered by the sun, their clothes worn but sturdy. They were nomads, desert dwellers who had made the unforgiving sands their home. Their leader, a tall man with a deep, commanding voice, approached Elyon, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of countless journeys. "You have done well to resist the illusions of the desert," the leader said, his voice carrying an air of respect. "Few make it this far." Elyon nodded, his throat too dry to speak. The nomads offered him water, and he drank gratefully, the cool liquid reviving his parched body. The leader studied him for a moment, then gestured to the sky, where the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows over the dunes. The desert tests the heart and mind, but it also reveals truth to those who seek it. The leader continued, "You are on a journey unlike any other, and we are here to guide you to the next realm." Elyon listened intently as the nomads explained the nature of the desert. The illusions were not just tricks of the light. They were manifestations of one's deepest fears and desires. To navigate the desert successfully, one had to confront these inner demons and find the strength to move beyond them. As night fell, the nomads led Elyon to a hidden oasis, a place where the illusions held no power. The water here was clear and pure, and the stars above shone brightly, unimpeded by the distortions of the day. The leader handed Elyon an enchanted amulet, its surface etched with ancient symbols. "This amulet will protect you in the realms to come," the leader said. "But remember, the true challenge lies within yourself. The path ahead will not be easy. But if you stay true to your purpose, you will find what you seek. Elian accepted the amulet, feeling its warmth against his skin, and thanked the nomads for their guidance. As dawn approached, they pointed him toward the horizon, where the desert gave way to the shimmering waves of an endless sea, the entrance to the next hidden realm. With the amulet around his neck and the globe's light steady once more, Elian took his first step onto the new path, his resolve stronger than ever. Elian stood at the edge of the desert, where the golden sands met the sapphire waves of the vast ocean. The globe in his satchel glowed once more, guiding him to this new realm, a world hidden beneath the sea. The nomads had given him an enchanted amulet, its symbol still warm against his skin. And as he approached the water, he felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. The path before him was clear, though it led into the depths of the unknown. With a deep breath, Elian stepped into the water. The ocean was cool against his skin, a welcome relief after the scorching heat of the desert. As he waded deeper, the amulet began to glow, and the water around him shimmered with a soft, ethereal light. He felt the magic of the amulet activate, enveloping him in a protective aura. When the water reached his chest, he took a final breath and plunged beneath the surface. To his amazement, Elian found that he could breathe underwater as easily as if he were on land. The amulet's magic allowed him to move through the water with grace, his movements effortless as he descended into the depths. The ocean around him was a wonderland of vibrant coral reefs, schools of iridescent fish, and swaying kelp forests. Light filtered down from above, casting the underwater world in shades of blue and green that danced and shimmered like a living tapestry. As he swam further, the ocean floor dropped away, revealing a sprawling kingdom built into the cliffs of a massive underwater mountain. The structures were made of coral and stone, their walls adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes of ancient battles, festivals, and the rise and fall of civilizations long forgotten. The kingdom pulsed with life, and Elian could sense the magic that flowed through its streets and alleyways. He approached the gates of the kingdom, where two sentinels, merfolk with scales that glittered like jewels, stood guard. They regarded him with curiosity, their eyes reflecting the wisdom of the deep. The amulet around Elian's neck glowed in recognition, and the sentinels nodded, granting him passage into their world. Inside the kingdom, Elian was struck by the beauty and serenity that surrounded him. The buildings were woven with coral and seaweed, their windows aglow with soft bioluminescent light. Merfolk of all ages moved gracefully through the water, their movements synchronized with the rhythm of the ocean currents. They greeted Elian with smiles and nods, recognizing the amulet that marked him as a traveler on a quest of great importance. Yet beneath the surface of this peaceful realm, Elian could sense a tension, a fear that lurked in the hearts of the merfolk. As he made his way toward the central palace, the source of this unease became clear. Whispers filled the water, carried by the currents. A monstrous sea serpent had been awakened, its wrath threatening to destroy the kingdom. The palace was a marvel of architecture, its spires reaching up toward the surface, adorned with pearls and precious stones that caught the light and reflected it in dazzling patterns. Inside, Elian was greeted by the Queen of the Merfolk, a regal figure with flowing hair the color of the ocean at dawn. Her eyes were filled with concern as she explained the dire situation. "The serpent was once a guardian of our realm," she said, her voice like the whisper of waves against the shore. "But something has disturbed it, driven it to madness. It thrashes in the depths, causing earthquakes and storms. Our magic cannot calm it, and we fear it will destroy us all." Elian knew that this was the challenge the desert nomads had warned him about. The illusions of the desert had tested his mind, but here he would have to confront a real and deadly threat. The globe in his satchel pulsed with light, guiding him toward the lair of the serpent. The queen offered him a weapon, a trident forged from the hardest coral and imbued with the power of the ocean itself. With the trident in hand and the amulet's magic surrounding him, Elian swam out of the palace, deeper into the dark abyss where the serpent dwelled. The water grew colder, the light from the kingdom fading as he descended. In the darkness, he could feel the presence of the beast, an ancient power wild and uncontrollable. As he reached the bottom of the abyss, the serpent appeared, its massive form coiled around a bed of jagged rocks. Its scales were black as night, its eyes burning with a fiery red glow. The creature roared, the sound reverberating through the water, shaking the very foundations of the ocean. But Elian did not falter. He raised the trident, its tip glowing with a brilliant light, and spoke the words the queen had taught him, a plea to the ancient spirits of the sea, a call for calm and balance. The serpent paused, its eyes locking onto the light of the trident. For a moment, the tension in the water was palpable, as if the ocean itself held its breath. Then slowly, the serpent began to relax, its massive coils unwinding as the light from the trident washed over it. The fiery glow in its eyes dimmed, replaced by a soft, steady light. The creature's rage subsided, and with a final gentle roar, it retreated into the darkness, leaving the kingdom in peace. Exhausted but triumphant, Elian returned to the kingdom, where the merfolk welcomed him as a hero. The queen thanked him, her eyes shining with gratitude, and the entire kingdom celebrated the return of their guardian to its peaceful slumber. Elian knew that his journey was far from over, but the experience had strengthened him, teaching him the power of compassion and understanding. As he left the underwater kingdom, the globe in his satchel glowed brighter than ever, guiding him to the next realm in his quest. With the knowledge and strength he had gained, Elian felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Elian emerged from the depths of the ocean, the weight of the sea serpent's encounter still fresh in his mind. The globe's light guided him as he journeyed onward, leading him from the shore to a vast range of towering mountains that scraped the sky. These were the mountains of the ancients, where the oldest and wisest beings in existence were said to dwell. The air here was thin and crisp, and the winds howled like spirits, carrying with them the echoes of forgotten times. The climb was steep and treacherous, the path winding upward in a seemingly endless spiral. The higher Elian ascended, the more the world below faded into a distant memory. The sun, which had been a constant companion on his journey, now struggled to pierce through the thick, swirling clouds that clung to the peaks. Each step was a test of endurance, the cold biting at his skin and the thin air making every breath a challenge. As he climbed, Elian couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The mountains were silent, yet there was a presence in the air, an ancient awareness that seemed to follow his every move. The globe pulsed with a soft, steady light, guiding him along the narrow ledges and through the mist-shrouded valleys. He knew he was close, that the summit held the answers he sought, but the journey was far from over. The final stretch of the climb brought Elian to a narrow pass, where the path was little more than a jagged ledge carved into the mountainside. The wind here was fierce, threatening to tear him from the rocks and hurl him into the abyss below. But Elian pressed on, his fingers numb from the cold, his legs trembling with exhaustion. The globe's light was his only beacon, a reminder of the purpose that had driven him this far. At last, after what felt like an eternity, Elian reached the summit. The air was thin, and the wind had died down, leaving a profound silence that seemed to resonate with the very stones beneath his feet. Before him stood the entrance to a cavern, its mouth wide and dark, as if it were the gateway to another world. The globe's light grew brighter, urging him forward, and Elian knew that this was the final test. Inside the cavern, the walls were lined with crystals that glowed with an inner light, casting the space in a soft, otherworldly glow. The air was still, and the silence was complete, as though the very earth were holding its breath. At the far end of the cavern, Elian saw them, the ancients. They were towering figures, their forms etched into the very stone of the mountain. Their faces were serene, their eyes closed as if in deep meditation. Though they did not move, Elian could feel their presence, their awareness focused entirely on him. These were beings who had witnessed the birth and death of worlds, who held the knowledge of all that had been and all that would be. Elian approached them with reverence, feeling the weight of their gaze upon him, even though their eyes remained closed. He knelt before them, the globe glowing softly in his hands, and waited. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly, the eyes of the ancients opened, glowing with a light that seemed to pierce through the fabric of time itself. "You have come far, young traveler," the ancients spoke, their voices a deep, resonant hum that echoed through the cavern. "You seek the knowledge of the hidden realms, the power to restore balance to a world on the brink of darkness." Elian nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt small and insignificant before these beings of immense power. Yet he knew that his journey had brought him here for a reason. The hidden realms are fragments of a world that was once whole, the ancients continued, shattered by a great evil. They have been scattered across time and space, guarded by the forces of nature and magic. To restore them is to restore the balance that has been lost, but it will not be an easy task. The cavern filled with a soft light as the ancients shared their knowledge with Elian. He saw visions of the realms he had traveled, each one a piece of a larger puzzle. He saw the darkness that threatened to consume them, a malevolent force that sought to control the magic of the hidden realms for its own purposes. And he saw himself, standing at the center of it all, the key to their salvation. "You have the strength and the wisdom to complete this task," the ancients said. "But remember, young traveler, the greatest challenge lies ahead. The darkness you must face is not just an external force. It is a reflection of the darkness within all beings. To defeat it, you must first conquer your own fears and doubts." Elian felt a surge of determination as the visions faded and the cavern returned to its soft glow. The ancients' eyes closed once more, and the silence returned, but the knowledge they had imparted remained with him. He had been given the tools to complete his quest, but the final battle would be the hardest yet. With a renewed sense of purpose, Elian left the cavern and began his descent down the mountain. The globe in his satchel pulsed with a steady, reassuring light, guiding him toward the final confrontation. The darkness was gathering strength, but Elian was ready. He would face whatever lay ahead, knowing that the fate of the hidden realms, and perhaps the world itself, rested on his shoulders. Elian descended from the mountain of the ancients, the weight of his destiny heavy on his shoulders. The knowledge imparted by the ancients swirled in his mind, a storm of visions and warnings that pointed to a singular truth. The final confrontation with the darkness that threatened to consume the hidden realms was imminent. The path that had begun with the discovery of the enchanted globe now led him to a place where the fate of many would be decided. The landscape changed as Elian traveled, the world around him growing darker and more twisted with each step. The sky, once bright with the sun's light, was now a brooding mass of clouds swirling in ominous patterns. The air grew thick with tension, as if the very earth sensed the approaching battle. The globe in his satchel pulsed with a faint, steady light, guiding him forward, even as the darkness closed in around him. At last, Elian reached the edge of a vast, desolate plain. In the distance, a fortress rose from the barren earth, its spires jagged and black against the stormy sky. This was the source of the darkness, the place where the malevolent force that had shattered the hidden realms had taken root. The fortress seemed to breathe with a life of its own, the shadows around it shifting and writhing as though alive. With a deep breath, Elian stepped onto the plain, the globe's light growing stronger with each step. The ground beneath his feet was cold and lifeless, a stark contrast to the vibrant realms he had traveled through. As he approached the fortress, the shadows around it began to coalesce, taking on the form of a dark, towering figure, a figure that radiated malice and power. This was the sorcerer, the one who had sought to control the magic of the hidden realms for his own gain. Clad in robes as black as night, his eyes burned with an unnatural light, reflecting the hatred and greed that had driven him to plunge the world into chaos. The sorcerer's voice was a cold whisper, carried on the wind as he addressed Elian. "You have come far, young traveler," the sorcerer hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "But you are too late. The hidden realms will soon be mine, and with their power, I will remake this world in my image." Elian stood his ground, the globe glowing fiercely in his hand. "The hidden realms belong to no one," he replied, his voice steady. "They are a part of the world's balance, and that balance must be restored." The sorcerer sneered, raising his hand to summon a wave of darkness that surged toward Elian. But the globe's light fled, creating a barrier that held the darkness at bay. The two forces clashed, light and shadow battling for dominance as the plane around them trembled. The sorcerer's eyes narrowed as he summoned more power, the ground beneath him cracking and splitting as tendrils of darkness erupted from the earth. Elian knew that the strength of his resolve alone would not be enough to win this battle. He needed to draw upon the lessons he had learned in the hidden realms, the knowledge and power granted to him by the ancients. Focusing on the globe, Elian called forth the magic of the realms he had visited, the wisdom of the ancients, the strength of the underwater kingdom, the resilience of the desert, the secrets of the forest, and the clarity of the crystal caves. Each realm's power flowed into him, merging with the light of the globe and forming a brilliant, radiant force that pushed back the encroaching darkness. The sorcerer's attacks grew more desperate as he realized that his power was being overwhelmed. The light from the globe intensified, searing through the shadows and illuminating the plain. The fortress shuddered, its foundations crumbling as the sorcerer's magic began to unravel. In a final, desperate attempt, the sorcerer unleashed all his remaining power in a massive wave of darkness, but Elian stood firm, the light from the globe reaching its peak. The two forces collided in a blinding flash, and for a moment, the world was bathed in pure, brilliant light. When the light faded, the plain was silent. The fortress had crumbled into dust, and the sorcerer was gone, his dark presence erased from the world. The globe in Elian's hand pulsed gently, its light soft and warm. The hidden realms had been saved, their balance restored, and the darkness that had threatened them was no more. Exhausted but victorious, Elian gazed out at the horizon, where the first rays of dawn were breaking through the clouds. The journey that had begun in the quiet village of Fernwood had led him to the farthest corners of the world through trials and challenges that had tested his strength and resolve. And now, with the world at peace, he knew that his quest was complete. But as he turned to leave the plain, the globe pulsed once more, its light shifting to reveal a new pattern, a path leading to lands yet unexplored, realms still hidden. Elian smiled, a sense of adventure stirring in his heart. The world was vast, and there were always more secrets to uncover, more journeys to undertake. With the globe in his hand and the light of a new day shining before him, Elian set out once more, ready to explore the unknown lands that awaited him beyond the horizon.